what's something that happened in 2020, Jim, that really caught your attention in the industry that made you excited about where wireless power is going at large?
Um, well, like I say, one of the biggest things was the fact that the NFC Forum came up with the ability to adopt wireless charging as part of their standard because there's over a billion NFC type devices out in the world right now. This adds a whole new dimension to that. Another one I thought was really interesting for this year was electronic vehicles. EV
Mm,
charging has now established their own global standard through the
mhm,
Society of Automotive Engineers, the SAE standard,
mhm.
published one called J2954. That just happened recently in October. But what's important about this, and a lot of people don't necessarily think about, standards, but how important they are in our lives. And if you move from one home to another home and you have a whole boatload of electronic stuff you plug in the wall, you're not worried that if I plug it into the wall, it's going to be charging with a different voltage at a different frequency. In the United States, there's a standard of 120 volts, and at 60 hertz, and that becomes an important standard. Now, think about this for electronic vehicles. It's a game changer in the sense that you can now charge essentially at home, and you sort of think of gas stations and how we power cars today. You have 168,000 gas stations, I think, around the United States. Every time your gas gauge is running on low, you pull in and you go ahead and charge it. It takes about 4.5 minutes. Well, you think of electronically charging a car, and it takes quite a bit longer to do that. But now, if I had something installed in my home that I drive into the garage, I drive over this pad, and now I'm charging at a couple of kilowatts rate. In the morning, I'm going to have my gas gauge at full, and I'm going to drive off. I don't even need to worry about driving to a gas station on the way home. I'm just going to pull back into my garage that evening and charge up again. That's a paradigm shift in how we think about charging. The consumer now is going to start, in a sense, getting used to that. It's like I can expect I don't have to plug things in to get them to charge, and that's going to include my electronic vehicles. And with the push to solve issues like global warming and not use fossil fuels, that's going to be a game changer. And so to see this set as a standard, I think is a big push for 2020 and moving forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. EV charging, which is something that we don't really do much of here at New Current, is really an interesting application, an exciting application. One of the things, we come from a medical device background, and one of the tenets of medical devices, you don't give something to a surgeon where you ask them to change their behaviors or add to their behaviors. And one of the things with electric vehicles that has always kind of bothered me is you're trying to teach consumers a new behavior, which is when you drive home, you have to remember when you get out of the car to plug it in. We don't plug in our gas vehicles. That's not a normal user experience. So the idea of just driving it into your garage and then walking out, not only does it not add a behavior, but it potentially saves a behavior that we all know, which is going to the gas station. So I think the standardization there is great for the industry, great for EV acceleration. But the other thing I want to point out, not just the standards converging, but also some of our colleagues in the industry, Ytricity in particular, has helped consolidate some of the IP ownership in the deal that they did in 2020 with Qualcomm, essentially acquiring the Halo IPT assets that Qualcomm had. And I think that gives a lot more confidence to the automotive OEMs and the power supply companies that there's a more concentrated source of intellectual property, which is Ytricity to go to. Another interesting thing to keep our eye on for 2021 is the recently filed lawsuit between Ytricity and Momentum Dynamics, another company we're familiar with in the EV space that does buses. I think they did the double decker buses in England as one of their installations. So that's the consolidation of intellectual property, or at least the understanding of where the intellectual property lies in that industry, will be another thing that helps that market accelerate and take off. So